Hello, wonderful people. Today we're going to be looking at some algorithm problems, and we're going to be using the platform known as Code Wars to solve some algorithms. And Code Wars is a fantastic platform if you want to learn algorithms, if you want to go into programming and want to write programming interviews, you want to attend interviews, and you want to improve your skills in algorithm. You can use this platform known as Code Wars, and we're going to be looking at it, and we're going to be solving a series of algorithm problems. And I'm going to be solving this live with you. Uh, this is not a pre-recorded video. This is pure live streaming, and we're going to solve them gradually. And as we solve, we're going to be learning. Then in Code Wars, there's what we call Keta system, and in Keta system, say there's you can see my Keta average now. I'm on 6 Keta 6. So there is Keta from 1 to 8. When you're in 8 are the simple ones, but Keta 1 is a very difficult one. So you can see that when I'm in Keta 6 on the average, simply means that I'm just getting good. Okay, so I want you to get good with me as I get better, as I move from Keta 6 down to Keta 1. Okay, so let's look at some simple algorithm problems that involve string manipulation. Very, very important. So we are looking at palindromes. There are two aspects of these palindromes. You can have palindromes for strings and the ones for integer. I actually went for an interview, and I was actually given a palindrome problem. Very interesting. So I want to show you the what I did when I was actually interviewed with this. So what is a palindrome? A palindrome is a word, phrase, or number or other sequence of characters which reads the same backward or forward. This includes capital letters, punctuations, and word dividers. So uh, implement a function that checks if something is a palindrome. If the input is a number, convert it to a string. Okay, I actually like this. So if the input is a number, convert to string. So this is actually a combination of you can actually use this for also uh, integer palindrome. So it's like solve the problem. I wanted to solve for palindrome of string and later do for that of integer, but this problem is actually all encompassing. When it's a string, convert to an integer. So we're gonna try out this now. So once you open up a question, and you can just click on train. Okay, good. So once you click on train, it opens the question together with uh, where you're going to solve. You can see this Code Wars is developed by people known as Qualified, and very importantly, you can choose the language that you want to solve with. You can see this is JavaScript. That is what I'm going to be using to solve this. You can choose C#, Java, Python, depending on the language that you're skilled in. And this JavaScript is being run on Node version 10. So Node is a JavaScript runtime, and these are the test cases that my code must pass. Okay, so you see these test cases, I should identify that a string is palindrome. So once you give it Anna is palindrome, because if you read it from the other side, it still gives you the same thing. So palindrome is any word that when you're reading from left to right, it gives the same thing as you're reading from right to left. So Anna from left to right is the same thing as Anna from from the other side. But water is not a palindrome, because water, that's what it reads from left to right. But from right to left, it will read retelwa. So it's not the same word again. Now this word, this integer 1 2 3 2 1. If you read it from this side, it's reading 1 2 3 2 1. If you're also reading from this side, it's also reading 1 2 3 2 1. So this is a palindrome. But this one is not, because reading from this side it reads 1 2 3 4 5 6. But reading from this side, reading 6 5. So it's a totally different word. So once a word is a palindrome, once you can read from both sides and it's having the same meaning, the same word, then you have to return true, but if not, you have to return false. Okay, so these are the test cases, and we are going to start writing this. Okay, so how do you know, how can you, I want you to follow the thought process of how I arrived at this answer. How can you check that something is a palindrome? Now, if you say that when you read from this side, it gives what the same word that you would have gotten when you read from the other side, that means you have to reverse this string first and now check whether the reverse string is the same thing as the initial string. Because the initial string is Anna, the reverse of Anna is also Anna. So if the reverse of the string is the same as the string, then it becomes a palindrome. But this water now, if you say water from this side, that's the main string, initial string. If you reverse, then it becomes another thing altogether. So it cannot be a palindrome. So you have to basically reverse the string and check whether the reverse string is the same as the initial string. Okay, so that is the thought process. So what I'm going to do is, number one, I'm going to establish the initial string. This is typically how I'm going to solve this if I'm given as a problem. So establish what the initial string is. Now, number two thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be able to reverse the string. So reverse the string. Okay, that's the second thing I'm going to do. So number three thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to compare the two strings and see whether they are equal. Compare the initial string and the reverse string. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to compare the initial string and the reverse string. So when I compare these, if equal, if I compare and the two of them are equal, then I'm going to return true. Okay, so that means, so if they are equal, I return true. If they are not equal, I return false. So I'm going to say else return false. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. So having highlighted these steps, I'm going to start solving now. So the first thing I'll do is to establish the initial string. So what is my initial string? So initial string is what is passed here. So, and that is line. So, and reverse string, okay. So this initial string, I'm going to say, you can see here, it says that if the input is a number, convert it to string first. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. If this input is a number, I'm going to try to convert to string. So how do you convert a number to a string? How do you convert a number to a string? So this simple question now, let's solve it. So I say if, then in bracket, the input, what's the input? Input is line. If line is a number, so how do I ask if it's a number? So I'm going to think about it. If line is a number, okay, so you can find a number by using type of. Okay, if line is of type of okay, if type of um, line is equal to number. Okay, so that's what I should use. I'm gonna simply take this out. So if type of a line is a number, so what do I do? So I'm gonna simply do convert to string. So how do I convert to string? I will now say uh, let uh, init let the initial string be equal to line dot to string. Okay, so once it is a number, then I'm going to say line dot to string. So by so doing, I've converted these to a string from a number. Okay, so that's the first thing I do now. So that is why I now know that this is a string. So even if the type of line is a number, change it to string. So the next thing I should do would be to reverse the string. Okay, so in order to reverse the string, I'm going to say let rev string. So let the reverse string. In solving algorithms, you're going to make errors. So when you run the test and you see some errors, then you can refactor the code in order to pass this test. Okay, so let the reverse string be equal to. So how do you reverse a string? You reverse a string by, first of all, you get the string. So the string we are looking at now is the init string. Init string. Okay, you get the string first. So once you get the string, you need to split it in order to convert it to an array. So I say dot split. So what are you splitting by? You're just splitting by nothing or empty. Since the words are not separated, you see these are the words here, so they are not separated by anything. So that's why you say that. So once you split to convert it to an array, because you can only reverse an array. You cannot reverse a string that way. So you split to convert this string to an array. So once you convert to an array, you can now say dot reverse. Okay, so once you reverse, now you have to join back to form a string. So I'll say dot join. And what are you joining at? You're joining at empty string. Okay, so with this, you now have a reversed string. So I'm going to be putting my semicolon. Semicolons are very, very important as a standard. Okay, so you can see now that I've done like 2 of the steps that I mapped out in order to solve this problem. So the last step will be to compare this initial string and the reverse string, and if they are equal, I return true. If not, I return false. So that is the next thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to say now if, and in bracket I say the ref string that I just found, if the ref string is triple equal to the initial string, init string. Okay, if the ref string is equal to the initial string that was passed, then I want to return true. Okay, now else, if it is not equal, then I want to return false. Okay, good. So this is typically how we are going to do this. And it's return undefined. Okay, so I think I will try this. I'll try this solution and see what it gives me. If it's not correct, then we can refactor it. Okay, so init string. I hope I'm not making a mistake. Okay, let me run the test first so that we can check. Okay, so we're having some errors. Should identify the string is palindrome reference. Init string is not defined. Okay, init string is equal to line dot to string. This string is not defined. Okay, so let me do something here. Else else init string equal to line. Okay, init string. Okay, so you can see now, immediately I did this, it's now passing 4 text and failing to. Okay, should identify that the string is a palindrome, so it's passing that. It's already identified. Should identify that the string is not a palindrome, it's passing this. Should identify that number is palindrome. Okay, this is the ones it's not passing this and this. So should identify that a string is palindrome on punctuation. Should identify that a string is palindrome on punctuation. Okay, so we are having two test cases that is now being passed. So let's see what could be the issue. Let me see. So that is the way you solve these problems. You have to, once you finish writing your code, you have to now go to it line by line and see where you're having issues. So I'm going to run this test again. Okay, that means it's not recognized. Okay, if type of line is a number, now you have to let in a string line.string to be equal to init string. Else, just let init string be this. Let here, okay. Okay, let me try this. Let init string, then if init string is equal to number, then init string, if not this. Okay, let me try this. Okay, should identify that a number is a palindrome. Okay, okay. Okay, I know what to do now. I'm looking at the space complexity now. If I write more codes to take care of it, okay, let init string, okay, without being assigned, if type of, okay, I can actually ask if type of string, type of line is equal to number. Okay, let me do this that I'm very sure about. String. Okay, now take this. Put it here. If type of string is this, if type of line is equal to string, then what do I want to do? I want init init string to be equal to line. Okay, so equal to this, else init string equals line dot to string. Okay, so basically I declared let string without assigning it any value. Then I said if type of line is equal to string, then init string is simply equal to line, but else init string is equal to line dot to string. Okay, so I think this is good. So you can see that all the six test cases are now passing. Okay, so you can see whenever you're solving uh, algorithm problems, you have to the way you structure your code, maybe you might be having small issues, but once you look at it very well, you make more inputs, then you're gonna pass. Like this is my typical, like if I'm giving this question in an interview condition, that's how I'm gonna do it. So you see that the major logic that I wrote first, like reversing the string, comparing, all of them are good. But in trying to find out uh, to delimitate from when the input is a number and when it is a string, I ran into some issues. So but I had to like present it in such a way that it will be good. So before I was saying if the type of line is a number, but maybe the way I wrote my number was not correct. So that's why it was still showing error. But since I didn't remember the way to identify number, but I remember the way to identify a string very well. So I changed with a string and put the number for as the second inside the else statement. So this simply means that if you supply line is what is supplied. So if line was supplied and the line is a string, you should just give the value of that line to your initial string. But if line is supplied and line is a number, then you have to convert that number to a string by saying line dot to string. So that means the value of string still remains a string, whether it is whether a string was supplied, it is left at that line. If it is if it is an integer that was supplied, you convert it to string and still assign it to init string. So it is with this init string that you now in string format that you now reverse and now compare. So you can see with that all the six test cases are passed. So if you check through the test cases, you're going to see that all of them are already corresponding to this. So I can now, I just run the test. So I'm going to run the test again and submit. So in some cases, when you submit, you still see more errors. So once you submit and see more errors, you have to still go back, check again, and see whether you have a test case that you were not able to pass. So I'm going to attempt to submit finally. Okay, so you can see it says impressive, you may take time to refactor your comment. So it's saying that the work is very okay. So after submitting, you can see that I still pass the extra text that is in the substitution column. So I can click on submit. I mean, after clicking on attempt, so I can now click on submit. Okay, so I've submitted my answer. So once you submit your answer, you're going to be able to see other people's solution. So you see other people's solution. So you can see in this solution, they just converted the line to string and did their thing. So this is one way you can see, and you can also see that this is a single liner. In one line, the whole code was done. You understand? The only problem here is that if you're learning, you might find it difficult actually processing what was done. So this is another one-liner that is also very interesting. Or you can see this one. This one is less than one liner. This one is just like almost one, uh, 2 or 3 words. Okay, this is another solution. This is another solution. This is another one. So you just check through and see the one that you can really understand. Okay, So that is how you go about solving this. So this is a typical palindrome problem that you could have integer or string as your input. Interesting. Okay. So I think I'm gonna be stopping here. If you have any questions that you want to ask me with regards algorithm, this is a section. This is something that we're gonna be continuing. So maybe every early in the morning, let me check the time now. This is 6:46 local time. So maybe probably every day 6 o'clock in the morning, we're gonna try out some algorithms. So if you want to develop your skills in programming, and you can always join this session. We're going to be solving lots and lots of algorithms, and typical algorithms that you can see in interviews if you want to become a software developer, if you want to become a programmer, basic algorithm skills that you need in order for you to improve. Okay, so see you when I see you. Thank you, and God bless you.